Everyone, welcome to the Board of Sewer Commissioners meeting. Today is July 13th at 6:30 PM at the Multi-Service Center, room 320, 48 Marion Road. Call the meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Sandy Slavin.
Bob Scanlon?
Peter Dunlop.
Jim Gibberti.
Bernie Pigeon? We have a quorum. First item on the agenda with the acceptance of meeting minutes. We have March 23rd. May I have a motion to approve?
Has everybody looked at it? No comments?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes presented.
Second?
Now we're making, the motion is to accept March 23rd, correct?
For all of them. You can do them individually if you would like.
Is of these minutes who we have presented before us, March 23rd, May 11th, May 25, is there any of those, and I think there's another one there, skipped one,
June 8th.
and June 8th.
On the 23rd, that was before you and Bob were
That's right,
here.
yeah, so I
Yes.
should abstain.
So I'll second Jimmy's
Yeah,
motion.
For March 23rd
Yeah.
and for May 11th?
well, May 11th, we were here.
We were here for May 11th, so March 23rd,
Yeah, the March 23rd, when, that was before you and Bob were.
correct.
So I'll
Bob-
second Jimmy's motion,
Okay, and Bob and I will have
the
to abstain.
23rd.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
I got lost. Which one are we just doing?
May 23rd.
March
March
23rd.
March 23rd, my apologies. And Bob and I are abstaining.
Okay, so the vote is 3-0 to accept the minutes of the 23rd.
Okay, may I have a motion for May 11th?
Make a motion, we accept May 11th and May 25th.
I can't give you both because I have a problem with the 25th, so,
Okay, May 11th. Stop there, just May 11th.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any corrections, comments? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's 5-0-0. And May 25th, Sandy, you have a problem with this one? What is
Yes,
the
I do.
difficult- What is the difficulty,
Does
please?
anybody take a look? It says, due to technical errors, this portion of the video was unrecorded. I sent notes to the person who did this saying that the 5:11 minutes were held pending corrections. That was not included in what I have here, so I don't consider these minutes to be complete. I found problems in the section called Article number 1, that we were to continue to pump out Wonkinko using staff twice a week, and that Guy would look into a contractor to pump it 3 times a week and report back to us. That was not included in the minutes. 3, outstanding capital. I have no idea what 2015 capital is about. And my note says that Bernie will reach out to the Bourne Sewer Commissioner so they know what's going on. Under contracts, it says we approved Warrant and Alpha. Both of those were held. They were not approved at the May 25th meeting, so I strongly recommend that the May 25th meeting not be accepted as presented.
They refer to a technical error. Did you get a description of what they mean by a technical error?
She couldn't see it. She couldn't read it.
Okay,
She couldn't hear it.
very good.
And all it was is that we had the 5:11 minutes were to be held pending corrections. So, I mean, if you would like to approve May 25th as suggested earlier, I'll be happy to, but I don't think they're not right. So,
Very good. We have a motion, a second. Will the makers of the second withdraw and the maker of the motion withdraw their motion? And we can put these back.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, the motions have been withdrawn. So the May 25th minutes are unable to be approved.
Accepted.
The next one is June 8th, minutes of the Wareham Board of Select Commissioners took place at the Swifts Beach Improvement Association facility. Excuse me. And Danny Warren was presented his project and the method of which he used to seal the leaking sewer line from Swifts, and did a lengthy presentation. I'm sorry, I apologize. Can I have a motion to accept as written?
I'll make a motion, we accept them as written.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to accept as written. Any comments or questions? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we were all present, so it's...
No, we were not,
Abstain? I wasn't there.
but you can accept the minutes.
Oh, okay. All right, I didn't know how it worked, so, yeah, aye.
Vote was 5-0-0 to accept the 6-8 minutes as presented.
Yes.
Sorry to be a pain, but I can't let bad minutes go in.
Quite all right, Sandy. That's why you're the clerk. Next item on the agenda is our staffing. Guy has asked to have this on because he feels there aren't sufficient enough people aware of just how short-staffed his department is. And we are supposedly, based on the charts and recommendations, have to have 18 people on staff over there. That's including the operational as well as the admin. And we actually only have, well, up to the Wednesday, we had 5, Guy? How many people do you have actually in the field?
Today, we have 4 total.
So there's
We have
three admin in
My
4.
lab manager's on FMLA for 3 weeks. Assistant is gone. A laborer left, so I have an operator and 2 laborers.
And
The other guy's on leave.
to supplement that, I believe we have contract with Weston and Sampson. They're
Weston
coming in to
Sampson.
provide you with the licensing people that you need.
7 to 11, or 6 to 10, depending on the day, 5 days a week, and then they come in 8 hours on Saturday, 8 hours on Sunday.
Yeah. I was in Town Hall and stopped in, talked to Doreen, our Human Resources Officer, and explained the situation for her. I like to touch base with her. She explained some of the difficulties in hiring. We are not exempt from all the problems that everybody else is experiencing. People will come in that they're unqualified. They'll come in, they'll accept the job, never show up. Once they find out that accepting the job requires work, and after a few days, they're gone. There is probably 15 posted openings on any board in Town Hall. And as the Human Resources Officer has explained, there really isn't enough room to put them all up there, because she actually has more than I think there's about 15 openings posted. There's more posted, but she just doesn't have room on the bulletin board. So we are, matter of fact, all our departments are suffering from the same situation. We are short-staffed all across the board. We're most interested, of course, in the sewer facility, because it requires us to be operating 24/7. And when we're short-staffed, it's difficult to encourage them. You can burn these people out, but you gotta have them on site. So we're very aware of it, and of course, we're starting a new fiscal year. All our budgets are topped off. We're funding all the positions, even though they're empty. There's the possibility we have someone to go there. We have to anticipate that, and that's good business. But if you know anybody looking for work and they don't mind working hard, we have some positions available.
I know 5 people that do nothing on Tuesday night. Excuse me?
I didn't hear it, and I'm not going to ask you to repeat it. Next item on our agenda, Sandy is asked to have the capital plan on the memorandum, or on the agenda, and I think it's correct, as we should be aware of what we have done, what's ongoing, that had been on the capital plan, and also to make sure that everything we need is on the capital plan. There's a lot of items that perhaps are not of great value, but are as critical as anything else on it. And Sandy, do you see anything that's missing that you'd like to have added, or send comments you want to?
I do want to make a comment that there's a capital planning meeting on July 19th, and I believe sewer is on the, our articles are on that agenda. Just let me just clarify that, yes.
Yes, I think,
July 19th at 1 o'clock in room 27, part of the agenda is the articles by Bernie. So I just wanted everybody to know that. So that's when we'll discuss the articles, capital for sewer.
and I talked with the chairman of the capital planning committee, and he promised a warm reception.
I don't know, I'm going to be there.
What was the date again, Sandy, please?
July 19th at 1 o'clock in room 27 of the town hall.
It's next week.
The next item we have on our agenda is some invoices. There's,
You jumped moratorium.
I did, oh, excuse me, yeah, that's right. The moratorium. I have tried to add up all our commitments, and I have found the original letters that we sent over, and we can identify the specific reasons why this committee voted for the moratorium, which is very important. If there's any discussion or comments on when we should or how we should go about lifting the moratorium, and please don't misinterpret my remarks, this is purely for the sake of discussion, that if the moratorium is requested to be lifted or someone inquires through it, we have a list, and we must, from my point of view, meet all the items on the list that caused the moratorium before we could lift it completely.
Now, Mr. Chair, Guy gave us a list on May 23rd. I went through and I found the dates we approved these projects for most of them, and I've got three I don't have a date we approved them on. But we also approved some on September 29th, 22 that are not on this list. So I thought this list would have been complete. So I was surprised to find that the Damien's Pantry is not listed, nor is the car wash down at 2416 Cranberry. And I can't find when we approved Woodland Cove. I can't find when we approved Sutler's Glen. I can't find whatever this 4-town road is for 6,600 gallons per day in West Wareham. I have no idea what town road is, but I have dates that we approved the other projects, not including Bourne, not including Makepeace. You know, they're there, but I was surprised to find Damien's Pantry and the car wash not there.
I was working off a different list than you have there.
This is the one Guy gave us on May 23rd.
Right.
Can I see that for a second? 'Cause I think Toll Road is your car wash, but maybe I'm wrong. Some of the addresses and project names may be different.
Then I compared it
First
to,
Hartford is the car wash, that's
yeah,
what you're
yeah, I
talking
know
about?
what that is, yeah.
All right, Toll Road, 4 Toll Road, it says town, but we said it was Toll. That's your car wash in West Wareham. Which other one you need? I think we said that the last time you asked. It's not
I
town, it's Toll.
don't know, you think that's Tow Road
It
in
is,
West
yeah,
Wareham?
we said that last time. It's not town, it's a typo, it's Toll Road in West Wareham, which is the gallons for that car wash.
Yeah,
forget
here
the
it
name
is,
of it.
this thing for Tow Road is 6,600. We approved for the car wash 2,640, so to me, they're not the same project.
Yeah, I think we approved 6,000, I think one of the meetings, I'll have to look it up.
I
I'm
went
not
back, and on August 29th, 22, we approved 2,640 for the car wash down across from Walmart.
sure.
But I have no idea, the only thing we have for 660 is Settlers Glen.
We
And
do-
that's not,
We do need a corrected, updated list.
and I compared it to what we received on, what's his other date? We have a date from April 22, we have another date from June 22, And we approved 2 projects for GATRA at 3 Tower Road for 1,000. I don't see listed anyplace. We approved that in February 21. We approved a single-family home at on April 22, 21 for Tower Terrace for 330. I don't find it on this list. So I'm
Now-
very confused about,
Those that you just commented on or referred to are completed projects that are
no,
online.
no. I found
Are they
these
waiting?
I found these in my
Are they
minutes.
in-
Yeah.
Are they projects that are in the queue, or are they projects that are operational?
They're not, I don't think they're, I can't answer that. This, to me, is the list of the queue.
Okay, I have a
And-
different list.
You have something other than,
I have 2 other lists from various
and I have
reports.
2 other lists, and they don't all agree. But I notice we did approve in a meeting for the GATRA for 1,000 gallons and the Tower Terrace for 330
Yeah,
gallons.
I have one that says GATRA, but it doesn't have any gallons in it.
Now, if they have withdrawn their request, we need to know it.
Indeed, we do.
So I don't think GATRA's going to do their station there, but I haven't seen anything saying, hey, we don't need our gallons anymore, but they're not on our list to,
That is one of the issues I have, and I agree with you. That list needs to be updated for 1. 2, we need to have an accurate list of those who are in the queue, because they obviously, we've obligated so many gallons for them, and then we have projections beyond in which we don't have any, and I'll bring that up. I had, with the list, and some were not mentioned in terms of gallons, I have about 248,000 gallons in the queue. I also have, there's a letter, and Guy has pointed it out from time to time, with Makepeace,
Yep.
in an enormous number of gallons. And I have one with the industrial development, which is listed as a number of gallons. And I also have Tremont Nail, which is no gallons listed. So we have commitments down there.
Tremont Nail was never committed.
Correct. There
Yeah.
was- Yeah, but it's still there. It's going
But
to be there.
AT Makepeace was committed for 10,000 for Rosebrook.
I have another letter that doesn't mention someplace else that they
See,
have
this
for
is-
500,000 gallons.
Oh, that's for their development that I thought they dropped. I thought they had canceled that.
But I'd rather see for something
You would like to
says
see it, that note? Yeah.
that
yeah.
it is canceled. That's my concern.
Yeah.
I need to see
Yeah.
something that tells me it's canceled.
So-
Because if you add all those gallons up, we're at 1.9,
Well,
and we're only processing 1.2.
this is why I've been after a moratorium and discussion to make sure that every document we have matches. So I went through 5 years of minutes to find dates for these, and I still can't find one for Woodland Cove.
Yeah. And-
Excuse me, okay, a couple of questions. You mentioned Town Road.
Tow Road or Town
No,
Road? Tow Road.
This thing says for Town Road.
Is that Town
Guy-
Road or Old Town Road?
It
I
doesn't,
don't know, find a Town Road, but I find
It do-
Old Town Road,
Guy thinks it should be Tow, T-O-E,
okay?
for 600,
Okay, aside
6,000.
from that, all right, fine. Now, the next question I had was, you were talking about Tremont Nail. Didn't Tremont Nail already have gallonage? You're saying it was, and it none authorized. They already had gallonage from,
I have,
get-go.
I've only mentioned it in that in the context that I haven't found any documentation that says how many they may or may not have. Now, obviously, they've been sitting there long enough, I'm certain they must have come
I mean,
before.
when they put their system in, their private system, and to pump into ours,
Hmm.
I mean, that was Tremont Nail and the diner. And then Tremont Nail spun off the
Old Company Store.
country store, right. So now you have Tremont Nail Country Store, I mean, which was there anyhow under Tremont Nail. But now you got 3 locations coming in from that spot
Yeah.
specifically. Now, that's been there for a long time.
There is absolutely no documentation as to gallons on here, so I have no idea what had been committed.
Well,
mean-
I don't know, Guy, maybe you can answer, but I'm assuming at the time that that occurred, we weren't into this kind of a discussion anyway, so whether or not gallonage per se was addressed, or it was just open the plug and let them in.
It's
So-
existing, right? The diner, all that's existing, the flow. At one time, you had the office building, you had the metal building, that's all existing
No,
flow.
so-
No part of the moratorium.
No,
There's
I
a
understand all
development
that, Guy, but what she's saying is, what was the gallonage authorized over there? And my
I don't know.
question is, at the time that occurred, there was probably no gallonage discussed anywhere, anyplace, anytime. It was
I
just,
agree with that.
we're hooking up here, and that is already, the country store and Tremont Nail and whatever's in Tremont Nail is all going through that one pump station they put together, and they've tied in the diner, because Biffy and Tremont Nail had their agreement to tie in together, and they worked together until Biffy rolled a 7.
Mr. Chair, my concern is that there is no incremental gallons mentioned for Tremont Nail. That's all we're looking for is the additional gallons that will be hitting us, not what had been previously permitted.
Indeed, because it's in the
Yeah.
context that it's a
But-
definite change of use than original, and
Mr. Campina, if you could find me the date in which Woodland Cove was approved?
We didn't approve it.
Well, it's on here for 32,000 gallons.
The zoning board approved it.
They can't approve sewer hookup.
They sure can. It's a 40B project. They approved it. You can argue with the zoning, you can argue with the law. They approved it.
Okay, so they also approved Settlers Glen for 6,600?
That was a zoning.
That's another
That's a
40B.
zoning, they were going back and forth, and
So zoning can commit gallons for us, even though we have a moratorium?
that is the truth.
Give me it. Honest?
You guys went to
as
Woodland
I
Cove.
say, I've looked for paperwork, I look for documentation. I
Woodland
don't try
Cove.
to say, I don't doubt one's
Did we
in,
approve Woodland Cove?
I can't
Talked
find,
about it, but we never approved anything on it.
One thing we
Never-
did on
never
Woodland
approved it.
Cove is we put conditions. We said we want grinder posts, we want this, we want that, that's all our say was.
That's all we did.
It went from the zoning board, the ZBA approved it, and it was a done deal.
I can find where we discussed Settlers Glen, I can find Woodland Cove, I can't find where we actually approved the gallons, and I still don't know what this thing for 6,600 at Four Toll Road is.
and I
Fort
want
Road
everybody
is-
to understand my pursuit of this is so that we know just what we're obligated to deliver. And we have to go through this process because we may have someone committed, we committed 30,000 gallons, which is not what they're gonna use, so we have to modify that realistically because someone else down the road wants it.
Yep. One of the things we should be doing by looking at who we have approved for sewer hookup, ask them if it's still a valid project, because if it hasn't been done in 5, 6 years, maybe we can take it.
I think there's a 5-year plan on it.
But we never committed to a time frame to, here's your deliverable date, because I would love to release some of those gallons so we can
Yeah.
go on with new projects.
We have a policy that if we authorize the gallonage today and you don't use it within a year, it expires and you come back for reapproval if, in fact, you're in business to do it.
I believe I've seen that.
Yes.
But have we ever implemented it?
Yes, it's one of the,
Yes, we have.
one of the policies. It is, I believe. 26, policy number 26.
Okay, so everything that was approved on 2021 and 2022 should have been in front of us saying, hey, I'm going to continue to do the Popeyes, I'm going to do the Minot condos, on, and 24 Oak Street.
It's valid for
So
us to
it's-
inquire as such, yes.
Because the only person we've seen back in front of us was for the assisted living, because we were about to take them gallons away from them, and they came back and said, no, we're still working on it.
That's right.
Other than that, I haven't seen anybody on this
Nobody
list in
else
front of
through.
us.
I mean, we're not chasing them, that's,
We're not chasing them, but if we want the gallons, I think we should.
Now,
if they
despite,
want the gallons, they can chase.
despite the moratorium, can zoning still give away gallons?
Under the law, they can. I believe they can.
Under 40B,
Do you think they could tell us?
there was a
come on.
discussion a while back, Mr. Chairman, in
What, to
regards to
tell us?
40B, and the state saying that you have to provide gallons even though you don't have them. It's been a controversy for years. I'm not happy with it, but
Yeah.
it is what it is, and that Woodland Cove was one of those projects that sat in front of in this building. It was very controversial for quite a while. Yeah, and zoning approved it all. They just
Mr.
approved it.
Chair,
Okay, I'll go through.
may we have for documentation from zoning what they approved when per gallons for each one of the 40B projects that we have outstanding? And I
Yes,
think
we're
there's,
we're
I
gonna have
think
to.
there's 3.
It's public notice, I mean, because they have
I
to
am-
publish it, it's public.
I
It's-
believe
it's-
the due diligence, they should be notifying the sewer commissions. I know, Guy. Heaven forbid
It's
someone
6
tells...
of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah,
Yes, we should be paying attention. Yes, they should be telling us.
That's what I'm saying, so it's just, but if we need it, just, I think we can get that information. There was a set of conditions. I have conditions that I'm following. Woodland Cove, I was gonna talk to me, I'll tell you now, Woodland Cove tied in today. They're starting the process of tying that into sewer on 28, I guess, 6 and 28. And they were gonna change their grinder pumps to a regular macerator, put a pump station. I pulled out the conditions and said,
No,
these are the
because
conditions.
There were
You will follow
strong,
the conditions.
there were strong conditions for each one of
Absolutely.
those 40Bs.
Absolutely, and I
Even
said,
though we didn't get a chance to approve them. So that's why I don't have any documentation on it.
there's a set of conditions. Same thing with Bay Point, there's a set of conditions. I have
But
those conditions.
Bay Point came before us for 27,000 gallons in January of '22, so
But after that, there was a lawsuit and conditions changed. I have the new conditions.
Yeah.
So I follow the conditions, which is a little different than the 27, there's an extra 10 and all that good stuff, so. But
Can
that's
you-
what I'm following.
can you make note at 24 Oak Street, even though the list says 240, you have 330 gallons. My note says we approved 2 EDUs for 660.
What, Oak?
24 Oak Street.
I thought it was one bedroom, but I'll look.
No, it's 2 houses.
Which one's 24 Oak? I thought it was this extended bedroom. I remember seeing plans that said it had a
They're
bedroom.
going up the driveway creating a road up the driveway to put a second dwelling in. They already have one dwelling. They're putting in a second dwelling.
I'm not so sure that was approved. I remember seeing. a
All right,
bedroom,
we
so-
approved 660, not 330,
Well, we did.
so.
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay, let's move on.
So, yeah, we can have to look.
It's
24
an
Oak Street.
information, it's an informational situation right now.
No, I can look it up.
We have how many different lists, and they don't all agree?
Well, and that's why I try to find these lists and try to make sure that they match each other, so we can basically say there's one, and depends on what report you get from our consultants, too. That's where 2 of my pages come from, 2 different consultants. Okay, the next one, I just want to be sure that we've done everything. Do we have any abatement recommendations?
We're on to letter D.
Well, I got it right in front of me. I didn't have a time to make this up that I actually do. Yeah, we'll go with D, the Fiera letter and invoice. Guy, that would be the contractor that was originally going to do Wankinko, I think.
That's correct.
And then they canceled the contract, and they've applied for the expenses that they've incurred prior to that, and that was legitimate, I presume. I don't think it's anything to do with us, though.
What they're asking for is the money they spent for bonds, insurances, all that
Yes.
good stuff.
I sent a copy of that to Bowen.
Pardon?
I sent a copy of that request to Bowen, Rich
Okay.
Bowen, so he's got it, and he said he'd act on it.
Good, that's taken care of
We
then.
anticipated it.
So we'll wait to hear from Mr. Bowen if we're going to pay it or not, or are we going to pay it?
No,
I would wait to hear from Mr.
Yeah,
Bowen.
we've got confirmation from him and how he wants to handle it, we do it appropriately. The wood chip reactor project. Any comments on what we had heard last week, or last meeting, excuse me? And can you go over what it does again, Guy, please?
So I would suggest, Mr. Chair, this is Dr. Foreman, he did the
Dr.
project.
Foreman, yes.
And I think you guys had some questions I couldn't answer, so you asked that he come here. So I would
Dr. Foreman, could you step up,
I would
please?
have him present to you, and then any questions you have, you can speak to him.
Sure, and I prepared a short handout, speaking with
Thank you.
Guy, who I guess spoke with you.
Yes.
As the chair. He said it would be nice for you to see the executive summary of our report. So this is a project that we started at the Wareham plant with funding from the National Estuary Areas Program, Joe Costa.
You're going to have to sit at the mic so they can get
I
you.
was
Thank you.
wondering about that. Okay. This better?
Yes. Is it green lit? Is the green light on?
Green light is on.
Oh, we're go for good.
Then I would identify yourself. I'm
Okay,
Chief
so again, I'm Ken Foreman. I'm a researcher at the Marine Biological Lab, and with the help of the Wareham Wastewater Pollution Control Facility and Guy, and funding from the National Estuaries Project, Buzzards Bay program, we did some pilot studies at the plant looking at the ability of using wood chips to help denitrify the wastewater effluent. The goal being to improve the quality of the effluent. And so what you have before you is the executive summary from that research, but I realize it's a little dense, so if you turn the page, there's basically a couple of key points to make. So as I'm sure you all know, the goal of wastewater treatment is to clean up this inflowing water that has high biological oxygen demand and high nitrogen in it. And among the steps that the plant process takes, converting that nitrogen to nitrate through an aeration process, and then trying to get rid of that nitrate by creating anaerobic conditions that promote denitrification, which converts that nitrate to N2 gas, which is what's in the atmosphere. So that's how we clean up wastewater nitrogen, and the standard way I think that the plant is doing this, and Guy, correct me if I'm wrong, is you add a carbon source, methanol, to the waste stream. That uses up the oxygen, creates the anaerobic conditions, and then the microbes that do this denitrification process basically come into play. They convert the nitrate that's present in the wastewater to N2. So Guy tells me that's a significant cost at the plant, and if there were an alternative so that wasn't necessary, that would make it cheaper for him to get to these goals of low nitrogen. Basically, wood chips are a carbon source. We noticed when we were out there, there's a lot of wood chips at the Wareham plant. If you guys have been there, piles of wood chips, because I guess you receive the chipped up wood from Eversource. And so we created a bioreactor system consisting of 6 columns of about 6-inch pipe, about 4 feet high, upflowed the wastewater coming out of the plant through those bioreactors. And I know one question that people frequently have about this technology is how long will the media last? So we were in the fortunate position of having installed a permeable reactive barrier at the head of Wacoit Bay in 2005 using wood chips. So we excavated some of those wood chips that had been in the ground for 15 years, and 3 of our 6 reactors were filled with those wood chips, and then 3 with fresh wood chips from the site. And the results, I mean, I have a couple pictures here, kind of show you the setup. This is at the plant, but if you turn the page to where the graphs are, you can see the results. So we asked 3 questions, or 4 questions, I guess. How long does it take to remove these nitrates from the waste stream as they flow up through the bioreactors? And basically, what's the rate of the reaction? How long does the media last? That was, we were able to address by having these 15-year-old and fresh media. We wanted to know something about the effect of temperature on the rates of reactions, with the goal that ultimately we might use this information to design reactor systems. And finally, since the ultimate goal of all this wastewater treatment is to improve water quality, take some of the treated effluent, compare how phytoplankton communities respond if we add effluent that's been treated through our reactors versus what's coming out of the plant through the outflow trench. So these 2 graphs that you see at the top of the page, graph A here, show you for old wood, that's 15-year-old wood, that's the blue line, and new wood, which is the orange line, how rapidly the nitrate was reduced from about 8 milligrams per liter to basically 0 in about 6 hours using new wood, and in about 11 hours using the old wood. Under cool conditions, the process slows down quite a bit, but we're still able to get rid of virtually all the nitrate in about 20 hours with fresh wood, and about 3/4 of it in about 20 hours with the old wood. So I know one question that Guy told me came up is how often would you have to replace this media? And we think that's probably good for 10 to 15 years. The rest of the information here is just in a little more detail, what the rates actually are per cubic meter of wood. This would be helpful if we were designing a reactor system. Graph C here shows the growth response of phytoplankton. Basically, we took some bottles, filled them 50% with raw seawater from Vineyard Sound, 50% with effluent either from the trenches, from the bioreactors. We had a comparison with seawater just mixed with deionized water as sort of our control. And you can see that the trench effluent stimulated, in terms of chlorophyll accumulation, significant peak in chlorophyll. The old wood, so the chlorophyll peak here was about 80 micrograms per liter. The old wood still did have some nitrogen in it, so we got about 20 micrograms per liter from the old wood treatment. The new wood and the DI water treatment were indistinguishable from one another. So clearly we achieved a very high level of treatment. The residual nitrogen that was in there, which was not in the mineral form, it would be in organic form, didn't seem to stimulate the growth of these algae. And I guess now we have an opportunity through the National Estuaries Project to get some additional funding to try to scale this up a bit. And I told Guy that if we're going to do that, we've got to bring an engineer on board. I'm a biologist, I'm not an engineer. I can't design a system that would be potentially viable at this kind of scale you need for wastewater treatment. So we did contact Sean Osborne and ask him for some input and whether he'd be willing to go in on this project with us. As I understand it, there's about $350,000 potentially available through the National Estuaries Project funding for infrastructure. It's not for scientific research, it's for infrastructure. Obviously, we would like to do some additional work on, to see how this test project is functioning, and so I think there probably is some money in that budget that would go towards the Marine Biological Lab for that purpose, if I understand correctly. But most of the money, I think, would be going straight to the plant, to the town of Wareham. I think in discussing it with Guy, and that's sort of this last page current proposal, we said we want to focus on cost effectiveness. We want to focus on treating maybe between 300 and 1,000 gallons per day in a test reactor. And we'll keep track of like what it costs to build this thing, what it costs to operate it. The goal would be to achieve an average effluent concentration under 2 milligrams per liter or parts per million. And I think we'll get nitrate down to under 1.1 parts per million. So basically this works very well to get rid of all the nitrate present. We want to measure some other wastewater quality parameters, biological oxygen demand, dissolved oxygen levels, and see what we might need to do for the water that's coming out of the reactor to make that meet DEP standards. And then I think what Guy suggested to me, so that there's no issues with your permit, is we would just run the reactor, the treated material back up to the headworks. Is that right? And then
correct.
it would go through the normal process. So this wouldn't disrupt or the plant operation, it wouldn't cause you to have any headaches with regard to permitting. And I do have a photo here just to show you how many wood chips you have on site, if you haven't seen it. One of my students standing on literally mountains of wood chips that you have out there, so.
Would this process hopefully address PFAS as well?
No, I don't think so. I have a friend at MIT who's a PFAS expert, and I asked him that question. And he said he did not think this would have any effects on PFAS.
So this, to run through this, assuming that everything works, it would have to get secondary treatment through the plant in order to be able to address the PFAS issue.
So this would achieve tertiary treatment for nitrogen. It would probably not impact your PFAS. And I don't know, right now, are there any regulations regarding PFAS coming out of DEP regulations?
There's no regulations as to the limit, there's no limits. However, there is regulations to test. To test for influent, effluent, sludge, and business.
So we certainly could try to do some testing to see. I would say that, you know, this is talking to a fellow named Phil Geschwind, who's a professor up there at MIT who does work on PFAS. He didn't think it would have a big effect. Now, of course, it's a carbon source, and I know they use activated charcoal to treat PFAS, so maybe. But
My only question is, it seems like, according to Guy, this is gonna be a hot button coming down the street. And, you know, we're either ahead of it or we're behind it and getting slammed with what we have to do, even if we're not ready to do it.
right.
So,
Right, so it, you know, it would be worth thinking about if we tried this, maybe trying to throw into this request some funding to get some analyses done for the PFAS.
Seems to me it's gonna be coming on pretty strong. So-
Absolutely.
Jimmy, would you pull your mic closer to you?
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Thank you. Peter? You have a-
I notice in graph B, when you bring the temperature up, it improves everything. The temperature of what? The temperature of the wood, the water, or the air?
Temperature of the whole system, so we enclosed these reactors. If you look on the first page here, in a chamber essentially,
Right.
we heated the water we heated the entire thing. There's a reservoir in there, so we pump water from the trench, the water would warm up. But really it's the water temperature, because that's, you know, there's a lot of heat capacity in water, so, and that's just accelerating the metabolic rate of the microbes that do the process, right? This is all microbially driven, so.
But you're heating the water in order to improve it.
Actually, what happened yes, we waited for a cool time of year. We didn't have a way to cool these things, so we waited for a cool time of year. I had one of those old oil-filled radiators in my closet, so I threw it in this insulated chamber. We warmed it up to 27 degrees, and,
So if this whole,
I mean, if you run it in the summer,
yeah, but I mean, if you run it in the winter and the whole thing is in an enclosed building,
it's gonna.
it's heated,
Well, right, so what I've talked about with the engineer is, first of all, if we were to do this sort of in basically digging a lined trench, I guess, to hold these wood chips, and you have a lot of land out there where we could do that, to insulate, number one, and number two, to put a greenhouse over the top of it.
Right.
You know, we want to stay away from costly, you know, originally I said, let's put solar panels up, let's do active heating. He felt that would be too expensive, so,
but the greenhouse wouldn't be expensive as opposed to the solar.
that's right,
I mean,
that's right. So
we could do it even,
we were just
the way
talking
they
about it
do,
this week, and he
that
said,
any of the greenhouses do with just poly over a, so you just cover the entire trench and run your water right through.
That's what we're thinking.
Bob, any
And if you,
questions?
and if you did it in a trench 4 feet deep, it would be consistent with the temperature.
So this happens in groundwater. You know, we have this permeable reactive barrier. We installed McCoy functions during the winter in groundwater. Groundwater is about 15 degrees, 12 degrees. You know, so some of this is how do you size it? If the rate is lower, you need more wood. You need a longer residence time. And that's kind of what we're going to be getting at with this, trying to scale it up in steps. You know, we started with little wood columns. Now we're going to go to something that's more like what you might do at an actual plant, and before you embark on a full-scale municipal scale, you know, attempt to implement this type of technology.
So what we're looking at here is a test site at no cost to us with a grant to do it. You're looking for the space and the wood chips to be able to operate.
That's
That's
a
basic-
concise
that's-
summary, yes.
That's basically what we're looking at.
What's the state of the wood chips when they need to be changed out? Is there any problem with disposing of them, or?
No, I mean, garden compost, I suppose, you know, we would screen them so the wood chips that we installed at Wacoit Bay, along the beach in 2005, when I go out there and excavate them, they really do not look any different than when I put them in. They're a little spongier if you kind of feel them, but, and you know, people have discovered these ancient Viking relics that are bottom of the ocean, intact, kind of, you know, wood, under anaerobic conditions, wood really doesn't decompose that rapidly. But if it's not decomposing, then it's losing its effectiveness also in terms of the ability to support because, you know, you're metabolizing the carbon source. That's the source of energy for the microbes. They're using the oxidizing power in the nitrate, like we use oxygen when we breathe to do the denitrification, burning the sugars basically that are in the wood. So once that wood is no longer able to provide adequate metabolizable carbon, then that's when you want to change it out.
Okay, great.
And that's kind of why we, you know, looked at these rates. And we can say, well, okay, the rate is maybe, what is it here? If I look at the rate per unit wood, it's about, in the warm temperatures, after 15 years, half of what it was when it started. That's graph B, you can see.
Thank you. You have another question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do we need a motion to recommend this? or
I
just-
have one question directly to Guy. Guy, what would be the short-term benefit to us? And supposedly there's a certain level of success, what could be the long-term benefit to us?
I'm not sure of the short-term benefit. I'm really looking for the long-term, and I define long-term and short-term. If this was to be successful, it's a 2-year program. If it is to be successful, then it would be scaled up. The benefit would be to reduce nitrogen down to a very low amount, less than 1, which would increase your capacity to a river that's limited to 1.5 because it's all a pound formula. So the lower we put nitrogen into the river, the more we can put into the river. So that would be a benefit, and that's just on how quick it happens. And then once this scaled up, they can make a decision how big it had to be to do the 1.56 or the 2 MGD, or more than that. So the long-term benefit is capacity, more to the river that is limited. And I'd like to see that. Of course, I'm an optimist. My goal is a couple, 3 years. If that's doable, then we'd ask them to scale it up larger and move forward with that to give us a capacity. That's a long term.
So we have,
So
with minimal investment, we can maximize our results.
if it turns out to be successful as the first pilot was, absolutely, we could maximize tremendous amounts of. There'd be a tremendous benefit to the community.
That's a significant limitation, is our discharge into the river.
The river.
Any other questions?
May I have a chance to ask a question?
Of course you can.
Well,
I would never
I
overlook
thought you were
you.
going to take a motion already, not,
Oh, no, he just
I
wants
had
to
a
talk.
question, so I
Sandy.
held off on a
You just-
motion.
Why would you ever feel you're left out?
I'm going to make sure I don't. Okay. Dr. Foreman, how big of a trench will this have to be in order to give yourself a good test pit?
So that, again, is sort of the engineer's purview. I think we were thinking a couple of feet deep and maybe 50 feet long.
50 feet along.
And where in the site would you put this trench?
Where Guy tells me to.
Guy, where in the site would you put this trench?
A lined landfill, that's where we'd go, because we could
Where
collect
is
the
the,
water.
I'm sorry, where's the line?
I thought I showed the picture last time. It is, if you go,
I'm talking, the public may not have seen that picture.
if you go in, you know, they probably don't understand this either. You come into the plant, admin's to the right,
In
to
the
the
wood
left.
pile, yeah.
To the right is it's a big open area with a lot of stone on it. That's a lined landfill.
Okay.
It butts the property
So we
along
would, they would
Linwood
not
Ave.
need a trench? That lining is secure enough to hold the,
That is correct. It's,
it would hold the wood chips and the water. Now, the
Absolutely.
question is, where would the water come from to go through these
Oh,
wood chips?
it comes from the wastewater
we're
plant.
yeah.
What part? Before it hits the headworks, after it comes out, at what point in this cycle would this water be
After the
used?
secondary treatment, we put it over to
Poland
be
Springs.
treated
Okay,
there.
so I now need a pipe to go from the secondary treatment all the way across the facility to this
Probably a
lining.
hose. We probably use a hose, but yes. Because it's a temporary thing.
Okay, a hose to put water in it. Now, does that water stay there for how long before it comes out the other end, back into the plant to be processed?
It would be the retention area. They talk different hours, so it would trickle through, it'd go around the circle, trickle into the soil. We have a collection area, take it over to a pump station. We'd pump it into the headworks. They would have to
You
give me the
said
time.
trickle into the soil. That bothers me immensely.
Well, it's lined landfill, so I wouldn't worry
Okay,
about it.
so,
It's a line, I said it was a lined
I
landfill.
know, but you said soil.
Well,
That
above the
lays-
line,
Yeah,
above the line of the soil,
Okay, so it will trickle to the bottom of this retention basin,
lined landfill.
Line,
and therefore you put another pipe, another hose with a pump to bring it back up and bring it back into the secondary.
It's already there. The lined landfill has an underlying drain, so we have a
And where does,
lining.
sorry, where does the underlying drain go to?
Right now, it goes onto the ground because it's mostly rainwater. We'd take that and we'd cap it and we'd put it right to the headworks building. It'd come into the effluent.
So
Influence.
we will then be putting it back to the headworks, so our system, our plant will be processing that water twice. Once as it comes in, and a second time when it finishes going through
Probably,
this
yes.
filter. Now, how long would that water liquid stay in this retention basin? Because it says hours in order to get a reduction in the nitrogen, right?
I have no idea.
So I would put water in, stop the water flow, let it sit there for, depending on the temperature, 20 hours or so, 15, 19 hours, and then bring it back and test it.
Oh,
Then load it up again.
I think what we're trying to do is have a continuously flowing system, okay? So water would come in at one end, continue to percolate through the wood chips, and I think we want a self-contained system. It's not going to be sealed in that sense, because we want to budget what happens. You know, we need to know how much nitrogen comes in,
Yeah, it has
how
to be a
much
controlled
nitrogen goes out,
process.
and so we would have sampling ports along the way, and then at the end, and then it would, after, so we can control the residence time by the flow rate. We know the volume of the system. If we're pumping at 300 gallons per day, which is, you know, this is a very small rate. Your plant processes how much?
Million gallons a day.
A million, so, you know, it's a tiny percentage of what you process. Then we get retention time of, say, 20 hours. If we pump at 600 gallons per day, it's 10 hours. If we pump at 1,000 gallons per day, it's, you know,
So you would time,
commensurately less. So we can manipulate the retention time
okay,
that way, and
That-
then it's continuously flowing through the system, and then it's captured at the far end of the system and piped back to the plant. But it's the same gallonage that you know, you're not adding gallons, these gallons already went into the plant.
So I'm just trying to catch, I'm almost done here. I'm just trying to catch the
You're
flow.
never almost done.
Alan, they're picking on me. So you would take a flow of water, about 300 gallons, turn it off.
No, we're never turning it off.
So the
We want
water's
a
going to
continuous
continually
flow.
come in? I thought you wanted to capture how much you had so you know how long it's been in the,
We know how long it's been because it takes, so, you know, at a particular flow rate, it's basically, imagine a pipe filled with wood chips. It's flowing down that pipe, this little parcel of water. And as it, how long does it take to flow through the pipe depends on the volume of the pipe and the amount that you're putting in,
okay.
right?
So this pipe is going to come into one end of this retention. How do you make sure it goes through all the wood chips before it gets the other end, or just focus on the wood chips where the pipe comes in? Did that make sense? I mean, it's,
The hope is that it just diffuses across all the wood chips down, as it flows down the pipe,
you
okay?
hope.
That's kind of how our pilot, our pilot reactors worked. We upflowed through them, and we actually put some baffles in those, just for that very reason,
To spread it, to spread the water more evenly
To-
over the pile of
to
wood.
prevent what I would call edge flow, if
Okay.
you will.
So,
But again, these are questions, these are design questions that we will debate with the engineer, because I'm not, as I said, I'm not an engineer, so I want to know what he thinks in terms, because he's got more expertise.
this would be no cost to the town of Wareham.
No cost.
Other than processing the same water twice.
Yeah, I guess.
Why do we have to process it twice?
Well,
It's an experiment per se.
Because it comes into,
Wait, just a second. I know what it does. Why do we have to do it that way? If you're taking it out at the second stage and running it through the wood chips, why can't you bring it back in to that second stage and continue?
It's a pilot, and to meet the criteria for the Department of Environmental Protection, we have to do all the parameter testing. We can't just let it go. So maybe at the end of the pilot, we prove that it can be discharged to the river, then we will at that time. But doing a pilot, anything that's a pilot, we're guessing.
Okay.
We really don't know. We surmise, but we don't know.
So if it works, we would be able to put
Absolutely.
it.
That's the
Okay,
long-term
one more
yeah,
question. If we were to put it in the location you talk about, do we have any odor problems? Because we're getting closer to the houses.
No odor problems within the wood chips.
Well, yeah, but now you're dousing the wood chips with half-treated sewage.
It's half treated. It has this only smell that I can think of is like, what do I call it, like a musty smell, earthy smell. So it would definitely create an
wood
earthy
chips.
smell.
You're getting closer
It would
and
be a wood
closer
chip.
to the people's homes.
But so you understand, I'm already, where we're gonna be, I'm already that close to people's home with the wood chips already, so they're gonna get
Yes,
the wood
but
chip
I'm not
smell.
worried about the wood chips. I'm worried about what we're gonna add to them.
But it's contained, it's in a pipe, it's contained. It'll be contained, it's not lying on the ground, it'll be
Not
contained.
if it's an open trench, it isn't.
No, it's not gonna open trap, it's gonna be contained.
wait a minute, how are we going to contain it? A greenhouse tent on top of it?
The
Other than
trench-
that-
The trench is going to be, and they're designing it. We talked about a round pipe, we talked square, they're gonna design it, but it's gonna be in an area, enclosed area, and water's gonna flow through it. And
it
then
has
it's
to
gonna
be
come
a
out.
sealed system.
And then
And
it's
how you gonna empty the wood chips out?
Well, that's, when it's all said and done, we'll pick whatever what it is, bring it someplace, and
How big a pipe are you talking?
As I said, I think we're talking something more like if you can imagine a sort of rectangular,
I happen to know
Yeah.
where there's some 24-inch resin pipe in various lengths.
yeah, I think we're,
that I'm sure could be purchased.
yeah.
and that's and the beauty of it is the estuary folks are really interested, and they're willing
But I
to
mean,
fund
if you
it,
took that pipe and just put a little pitch to it,
That would be up to the doctor and engineer because they have a special residence time, so they'd have to decide on.
I think
whether
we're
they're
looking
gonna-
for something a little bigger than 24 inches, you know, more like 4 feet.
We've got a lot of
50 feet.
24-inch pipe.
I understand.
So I'll let them
It's-
make that determination, decision on that, but yeah, the owners were concerned about everything.
And
we're
there's no
concerned about,
guarantee
too.
if we apply for this, we'll get it, by the way. You know, it will be peer reviewed, and we'll see what they say.
So this would be a pilot program only if the funds were available.
Correct.
We're applying for a grant through
So
the.
Who's
SRS.
applying for the grant? You? You.
The town of Wareham is applying.
Yes, we're applying through Dr. Costa and the SRA's committee.
And we're approving the application.
That's why we
This,
need your,
I'm sorry, this does not, a grant does not have to go through Mr. Sullivan? I thought he had approved all grants for the town.
I don't know. It would, yes, I agree with you. It would have to because it's a contract. Irrespective of its
So-
nature, it's still a
You would
contract.
have to-
Wareham is applying for the grant from the Buzzards Bay National Estuary Program.
Correct.
Who's writing the grant?
The engineer's writing the grant.
Buzzards Bay
This-
Watershed,
This unknown engineer is going to write the grant.
Sean, he's being there. He's writing the grant. Sean Osborne writing the grant. And here's his letter attached to what you have there.
Okay,
In the bottom, it specifically addresses where the dollar amounts are coming from.
So, and remember, I don't know if we pointed out, but the SRA's approached us because of the existing pilot that's been very successful. And they'd
Yes,
like to
they-
see the next phase. They spent money and they found some great success. They said, listen, we need to do the next level. So if we get to where we want to be, it's gonna benefit not just Wareham, but multiple areas for the entire Buzzards Bay estuary. So we
And I
said
think
we'd
I've
like
seen
to
those
continue.
boxes there for the last year or two.
It's a
they've been there
couple-
for, yeah,
three,
maybe 4 years.
maybe 4 now.
Yeah.
So it's been very successful.
Yeah,
So-
we started pre-pandemic. Then we had a little pandemic hiccup, as everyone did, and then we resumed.
Yes, because it was questioned as what they were, and a person on our tour group was able to open the doors to show us inside what it was.
Yeah. Good, so you've seen them.
okay.
Yes.
So Wareham will submit the grant being written by OSD Sean Osborne, and it would have to, I would definitely have Mr. Bowen look at it, and Mr.
course.
Sullivan has to approve it.
It's almost automatic.
So would our motion be that we would recommend that the grant be pursued?
Yes.
That's my motion.
second.
Jimmy, did you want to add any word? Jimmy had it, you know, he was going at it earlier there.
Oh, we'll let her play with that one. She's good at it. She's writing it.
Would you repeat your motion, please, Sandy?
Recommend that Town of Wareham pursues, proceeds, what do I want? Goes after the OSD, no, okay, wait a minute,
I think you want your funding from the,
From-
The estuary.
proceed with the
Buzzards
grant
Bay National Estuary Program.
from Buzzards Bay Watershed,
National, no,
infrastructure-
National Estuary.
Wait a minute.
Estuary program.
Use the prop-
Estuary program.
Has to use the proper words.
I must,
At the top of the letter.
yeah, no, I think that's
Oh.
right. See, whatever CCMP stands for, Grant Support Program. FY '24.
okay. Partnership with the Marine Biological Laboratories Woods Hold to pursue a grant from Buzzards Bay Watershed Infrastructure and CCMP Grant Support Program. Is that the grant we're looking for?
Yes, because, yes, and it's just the correct wording also, because it's not the estuary program. It's later in the document that they refer to it.
Grant from the FY '24 Buzzards Buzzards Bay Watershed Infrastructure and CCMP Grant Support Program.
Yes, correct.
And the grant is to be written by OSD.
You could say in collaboration with Guy and myself, if you wish.
That would be up to OSD to make that happen.
Yeah, cooperation with the director.
Well, yeah, I just between OSD because this is gonna be a long-term process.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a
That's
while.
why I phrased director.
Just, you know what I mean, it's gonna be a while, so it's not gonna happen overnight.
Further questions for me?
I don't think we voted.
No, we haven't voted yet. If you give us a moment, please.
So all we're going to do is recommend that we go after the grant,
Yes.
period.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a
So-
vote 5-0-0.
Once we get the grant, then we take it from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Glad we're able to offer such a unlimited supply of wood chips. Last meeting, we had someone from Waterworth Solution Mapping. I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. I'm not sure what they were offering us. Anybody have any thoughts for the Waterworth Solution Mapping? They did a presentation, and Guy, they approached Guy, so Guy brought him over to us, of course. I'm not sure what they were offering for one, continuous utility rate management. I think it's something we're not prepared to utilize at this point in time. But as I said, if we were going to vote or do anything on it, we always do it the following meeting, and that's why it's on the agenda. If not, we'll just pass over it.
I can't find any notes.
No? Okay, we'll pass over it.
Pass over, yeah.
Do we have any contracts? Yes, we do.
Did you want to go down to letter number 5 under D?
Yes, because I think there's another issue. Oh, I'm sorry, my apologies. The grease from Grazilla. That it was presented last week. And again, a pilot program that was not going to cost us anything. Well, yes, excuse me. I think it was going to cost us electricity. We were going to have to drop a line out there to power, but everything else they're providing, and they'd be operating the Grazilla and getting the resources, et cetera.
I'm sorry, Chair, I can't find where Waterworth Solution ever came before us because it was not on the June 22nd meeting.
It did not come before the board. We had
So
a
that's-
presentation with GHD, the chairman and myself, in the conference room for
Ah,
gentlemen.
yes.
So it
What
was-
they're talking about was the
we're passing
budgeting,
over it anyway.
marketing.
Okay, just that I couldn't find anything in my notes, so it must have been a conversation outside of this board.
No.
Okay,
Okay, the next item is the Grazilla. And if I recall the presentation, one of the great factors in this presentation was it wasn't going to cost us anything, but it was going to be operating that thing we have. Am I correct, Guy? It wasn't anything out of your account in terms of having to do anything to Grazilla to make it operational for their,
No, the
Objectives?
Grazilla would be handled by the company that owns that made Grazilla. Anything that needed to be done to make it operational would be beyond us. We wouldn't be part of that.
and they would bring Rosilla up to date.
Absolutely, that's part of it. Matter of fact, since that conversation, they're gonna write something, I'll bring it to the town, but they're saying that they should just take it over, run it, and give you the profits, share the profits, and we have no culpability or no involvement forever. But that's another day, another conversation
I
beyond
was going to
this.
say, yeah, so let's do the preliminary, and
Yeah.
then
That's
we'll
just-
address
Yeah,
the
the
other issues.
discussion we had was on June 22nd, and it was that it would be biofuel that we could use for the generator to hook up into their mobile trailer to cycle through, so once we got them going, they would
If it worked,
fuel it themselves. But,
if it worked.
we,
All we're looking at here is allowing them to do it and see what happens.
Yes,
The pilot program,
we are not
no cost
culpable at
to
all.
us, so
Fails, it
Just-
fails.
just-
I
The
believe it was
electricity.
called CF Tech.
Yes,
we did that already.
here's the proper name. Anyone want to make a motion to
I'll make a
allow them?
motion, go ahead,
I
Peter.
thought we did this list.
No, we did, well,
We did not vote.
No, we
Did
didn't
not
vote.
vote.
We
It's
didn't
my
vote.
policy not to vote on
We
the same
pushed it
day.
off.
Oh,
If it's,
okay.
I mean, as a member, you can make the motion.
No,
as
no,
when
no,
you're-
no,
Just as
I thought we went all through it and told them, go ahead and do it.
No,
I'll
we
make a
didn't
motion
vote.
to
Oh, we
accept
just
the
didn't vote
pilot
on it.
program.
Second it.
Motion's made and seconded to allow Varela to go forward with their pilot program.
No, CF Tech, please.
CF Tech,
Whatever.
words, 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 and they
Oh,
will
I'm-
sink you. Okay, motion's made and it's been seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. 500.
And it's limited to the discussion we had on June 22nd, no taking it over or anything like that. They will bring it up to speed.
The
And
speed, yes.
yeah, so this is a pilot.
Yeah.
If they want to go beyond that, they've got to
It's
make a
another day.
presentation.
That's
Yes.
another- That's another.
So noted.
That's not, there's,
Contracts are next.
Okay.
yep.
You're very welcome.
I thought you would have been started already.
Here they is. We'll be back. Thank you. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Okay, first item on contracts, I'm skipping over the headworks and clarifier. We'll do the in unfinished business section on discussing what happened Tuesday evening. The contract, South Shore Generator Service.
Make a motion, we accept the contract.
Second.
I believe we need to put the cost in there.
$14,510, not to exceed.
And it's effective, what is the effective dates? July, first day of July through the end of the year?
Yes.
No, I got them right here.
Okay.
1st of July 23
Oh.
through,
The dates are in the documentation that's in our packet.
okay,
It's not on the signature page.
Where'd you get the numbers?
So we have a motion?
there's a date up there.
May I have a motion, please, to accept?
I think Jimmy did.
May I have a
Did you?
second?
I made a motion.
Yeah.
May I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next item on contracts.
I make a motion, we accept the Citigroup contract before the stuff backs up over the
Second.
roof.
But we,
Cost of the contract.
It's
What difference
on
does
an
it make?
ongoing basis, depends on what we ship.
yeah, they're ongoing.
There's a
I think
sheet in
that's
there that-
phraseology.
So there's no limit to what we will pay?
No,
No. Well, there's a price list on page 3, excuse me. But as my meeting with Guy and these people, it's printed there, but it's almost a variable, depending on the time of day.
On the day where it goes, we're trucking at 3 o'clock in the morning to save some money. I'm bringing guys in 3 o'clock in the morning, one guy.
Is that acceptable to leave that blank, Sandy, to you?
It's going to have to be because it says see pricing list, pricing sheet. I don't know whether or not we're going to have to put the pricing sheet attached to this contract.
well, just attach it, it's right here.
Well, I don't have a stapler. So this will have to be done in the office. They would have to attach the pricing sheet.
Yeah, give them my copy, Christ.
I'm sorry?
And this is a contract that's valid
Give
from
them my
July
copy.
1st to June 30th, 26. It's a 3-year contract.
Okay.
I had a motion and I had a second. Is there anything specific would like in the motion, Sandy?
Is to approve the contract per the pricing sheet.
Okay. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So vote 500. Next on the agenda, they have change orders. Number 1, GHD Inc., Wareham groundwater discharge evaluation, change orders to extend the completion date to 7/18/24. This is for the groundwater discharge evaluation, load testing, and field investigations Phase 1. Contract was fully executed by August of 2020.
Make a motion, we accept the extension.
May I have a second?
Contract was full, we signed the contract in 2020 and it's still going on.
Yes.
Right.
This is for the groundwater discharge. There's
All
no price on it, is there?
No.
There's no cost associated with this.
There's
It's
no
already-
cost.
Contract's already been let. This is just an extension of time.
This is just extending time?
That's
Mhm.
all.
All of these are extended time, all 4 of these are just
That's all
extended
they
time.
are.
Okay, the next item, a change order number 1, GHD Inc., Wareham CWMP. The change order is to extend the completion date to 7/18/24. This is the comprehensive wastewater management plan that is being completed in 3 phases. This contract was fully executed in July of 2022.
Make a motion, we accept the extension.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's a vote 500. Third change order, number 2, GHD Inc., Kendrick Bypass. This change order is to extend the completion date to 7/30/23. This is for the Kendrick Road feasibility study to determine whether or not bypass the station, whether or not to bypass the station. Contract was fully executed in August of 2021.
Make a motion, we accept the extension.
Second.
Motion's
Wait
made,
a second.
motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Question,
Yes.
they have to be done by the end of
When
July?
are we going to see the results of this?
In July. They're pretty much done. We'll have it by the end of July, and they'll come to the board and present it. So you should maybe August 1st or maybe July. When's our next meeting? So this July 27th, I'll ask if they can be at the July 27th meeting. And then they'll present their findings, and then you can make a decision.
So it's extended to July,
30th of this year,
and then we'll get the results.
yes.
Yeah.
They're finalizing the documentation to present.
Thank you.
The last change order, number 3, extension.
We didn't take a vote on that, Bernie.
Oh, I apologize. Thank you. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? This is a vote 500. And the last change order request, number 3, GHD Inc., WPCF Improvements, is change order to extend the completion date to 3/29/24. This is for the engineering and oversight of the improvements at the main plant, inclusive of overseeing the WES construction agreement. This contract was fully executed in June 2021.
Make a motion, we accept the extension.
So we won't see the results of this until April?
No,
This is
what
their
this is, we
overseeing.
have the results. This is the present project for the basin and the filters. There's a year warranty that has to be overseen. there's some other issues because of funding, but nonetheless, they're gonna oversee to hold the contractor accountable to make sure any warranty issues are taken care of. So to do that, they have to extend their contract. There's no money. It's just extend the time that they'll be there overseeing the contractor to complete it,
Basically, it's a clerk of the works.
pretty much for the next year.
And
Because we
that-
have,
and it's always been your interest in terms of our warranties. So we got a warranty on this one. And a third party monitoring it.
Yippee, we got a warranty on a pit. How about we get a
You do,
warranty on a
you take
pump?
what you can get. Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's a vote, 500.
And here are the contracts to sign, plus there are some left over from a previous meeting that were not signed, so that's why there's more than what we just passed.
I can't make my print a spreadsheet. Let's see, it's why I have to put it all together in pieces.
Bless you.
Thank you.
That is a pain in the ass, isn't it?
This is where it gets, yeah.
Difficult.
Oh, you ought to see me with the Chinese spaghetti.
Oh, Jesus, Peter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, it's this one.
Another one, that's one of them. There it is.
Sandy, if you have any trouble with them, with my signature, explain that this is from the stroke and I'm...
Yep.
Okay. Christ's sake. I signed less paperwork when I bought my house.
Yeah, because we didn't do 3 of those 2
Yeah,
weeks ago.
some of these are my fault in the context if I didn't sign them appropriately at the end of the meeting.
There you go.
You got it. Okay, now, I think we're done with all the principal issues on the agenda.
Unless you wanted to talk about headworks and clarifier.
Yes,
Thank
and that's
you.
going to be in conjunction with the, why don't we handle the superintendent's report? Guy, do you have anything to present?
No, I talked about Woodland Cove, we're well aware of that. They're digging into the road as we speak to make the 8-inch connection. I think there are 2 buildings ready to go, one working on and a 4th. The community center's close. They're behind schedule, they were hoping to open up some, but we did that today. I verified that there's grinder pumps, as we asked for, because it addresses baby wipes. Grinder pumps address baby wipes because it becomes their problem. Doesn't become our problem. So there's an old adage that if it affects you in your pocketbook, then you'll be more likely to help rectify the problem. So Woodland Cove will be responsible for their own baby wipes and non-flushables, et cetera, et cetera. So it'd be up to them to educate their residents because they're the ones that are gonna fix their pumps, clean their pumps, and do what has to be done to make sure that there's compliance. So we wanted to make sure, as I'd said, they wanted to get past that and do some other things. But we were very adamant because when this was approved through ZBA, that was one of the things we were emphatic about, was grinder pumps to help with that issue. So it's come to fruition, that's a good thing. I got one brief thing. In Hamilton Beach, the folks out there had a meeting and they're addressing their roots problems within their community. And they've been coming down faithfully and grabbing our root kill. And they're saying it's been effective. There's other parts of town, the Nauset, that people have been coming and getting root kill. And the one gentleman was in yesterday, and he's very, very excited. He does it annually. It's helped clean his lines. So we give it away. We spend quite a bit of money a year in it. We give it away because roots, where you see trees, you see sewer, you see root intrusion. And it's always been controversial because homeowner feels it's the town's problem. The town doesn't put trees in streets. The roots come from your property. It does get into the connection, and it goes your way and my way. But we're not the cause. And so it's very controversial who's paying for it. And of course, everybody wants the town to pay for it because that's just the way it goes. So it's been great. Monday, we're planning on going out there and doing a demo. I'm waiting to hear back from the president. RootX is willing to come down, and we're looking at a add to the manholes. We'd like to treat at least 800 foot of pipe out there. They've had some pipe root issues. We've cleaned some pipe. And so in combination with them adding RootX down their laterals and us adding to their pipes, we hope to do a great job of rectifying the root issues that are out there. I would strongly encourage folks that have roots in their property that may, everybody says, well, it's not on my lateral. A good maple tree will travel the length of your yard to find that little infiltration into your pipe. And it gets like it's less than a hair, and it wiggles and wiggles, and over time, shifting, they just get in there and then they do their thing. They grow and grow and grow and grow. So we give it away, and I recommend people come down. You have to sign for it, put your address, and we'll give you a 2-pound container that it's good for a year. And if you did it annually, then you could help your own problem in keeping your sewer running freely of roots. We give you the instructions, the whole 9 yards. And then, so we're hoping that this project in Hamilton Beach for the mains is successful, because then we'll do it throughout the town of Wareham. So it's a good program, and it's a problem one of the problems. And also Roots grabs your baby wipes. It grabs your grease, because grease is a major problem. A high number comes from homes, and it plugs your pipe, and it becomes very problematic. So I just want everybody to be aware of that program, and please take advantage of it.
Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
You mentioned the root problem. I've had a couple pop-ups on my phone, YouTube or whatever, and they're hauling roots out of a sewer line. Absolutely amazing that they were actually flowing water through there until there was a 13-foot piece of just pulled right out, and you thought it was part of a line, and it was all roots. And you have another issue when you covered the wipes and the like, and the pump. I had a note from a user asking questions with respect to what had happened down at the elementary school, and this was now several weeks ago. And they were concerned or questioning just what responsibility, what caused it, and this is an elementary school, and who took care of it. the problem when they called in to say my sewer's backed up? Did our forces go in and do it?
No, that's the elementary school. The town of Wareham, or the school system, owns that pump station. They built a new pump station, so interesting enough, it became their problem. It backed up the school. We did not get involved in the pump station, so they had to call in some folks.
Here's a
to
copy
rectify
of the
the
bill.
problem.
Roto-Rooter
So-
came in and did it for $1,979, paid for it by the school.
So that was a school problem. Now, the high school and
I
other
gave it-
schools that do not have pump stations, it becomes our
You
problem.
got that?
The high school goes to Kennedy, and Kennedy wet well is constantly full of baby wipes, grease, the whole 9 yards, so we're responsible for that. We have to derag that pump regularly, we're responsible for that. The pumps at Narrows, which takes the entire area, we're deragging routinely. The pumps are going down, I mean, they just keep failing because they clog, they plug. And we get an alarm, the wet wells get full. And remember, when a wet well fills up, it's backing up every line coming to that pump station, which may impact your personal property. And then we pay for it. We spent $40,000 in cleaning up properties because of baby wipes and pumps. It is what it is. So it is a major problem. I understand the convenience, it's easy. Adult wipes, we're doing a lot of wipes with COVID, we wipe tables, and they make all these products that are fibrous, and it's a great thing, and it's really, really beautiful. But the consequences are severe. If Narrows goes out, folks, I'm telling you, it's severe. The condos down the end of the road, we wiped out an entire business, and it cost us $27,000 to put them back in business. So it's a severe problem, and it's hard for accountability, right? You flush it, you don't see it, it's gone. Not your problem, just not your problem.
And I think the wording on a lot of those products are biodegradable, they're flushable, not a problem. I don't think people realize that if you're using the wipe, clean your cloth, it's not breaking apart because it's wet. So it's solid, so you flush it down. Well, it takes only 8 to 10 hours to go from that flush to your system on Tony Lane.
Absolutely.
And there is no time for it to biodegrade.
No, and it goes through a few pump stations. So as it makes the pump station, it shuts the pumps down. And when the pumps shut down, we don't move product, and it backs up into your neighborhood. And, hopefully you're not the low end on that system, because if you're the low end, you're gonna get it all. And that's as simple as that. So, yeah, it's a major problem, and I'd love to see people take it serious. The old saying is it's not a problem till it bothers you, but there's other people being affected as we speak. And so if we all were more considerate of everybody, the bigger problem, then we probably can tackle it and become successful.
Mr. Chair, may
Howard?
I follow up on that?
Certainly.
We all got an email this morning regarding the problem we had at the elementary school. Maybe someone from here should talk to the school board and ask them to educate their females not to flush.
That's a rather embarrassing topic.
Well, it is. I mean, it isn't just elementary school. He just mentioned what's happening at the middle school and the high school.
Yes.
I mean, so maybe we ask the school board to help educate what not to flush.
And as Guy has said, it is their responsibility, so it's their cost that they're going to incur.
Well, only because this happened inside the elementary school. The
We're-
cost is, everything else is our cost.
We're eating it. Kennedy, the schools go to Kennedy, we're eating that.
Oh, really?
This is
We
only
eat
because
that.
it
That's our
happened in the
cost.
elementary system before it left their building. That's why they had to do this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not to mention that it prematurely wears a pump, and these pumps are $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 apiece. And so it's a cost to
I'm glad
us.
to get them.
And try getting a pump now. Try getting them. We're rebuilding pumps we've never rebuilt before because we can't get them. Pumps are out a year, 6 months. And so if I need a pump and I have to wait 6 months, then what do I do at that pump station in the interim? So we're getting rebuilt in 6 weeks, 8 weeks at a tremendous cost. So the supply chain is still problematic. It isn't, hasn't gone away, so the costs are ridiculous. So if we can just and the easiest way for me to say it is you flush nothing but white toilet paper. That's it. What comes out of your body in white toilet paper, that's all you flush. And a lot of people do hand towels, right? Paper towels and hand that flush that. None of that goes into the toilet. None of it. And if you just, whatever comes off your toilet paper roll, that's all you flush, we could all win. We could all win at
My
this.
grandson liked to use those wipes because they were scented.
Yes, absolutely. You know, they don't fall apart. You know, I think that was Shaman says you can,
I mean,
but,
even
yeah.
Kleenex you shouldn't put down there.
Not even Kleenex. Because toilet paper is what they call dispersible. It deteriorates very rapidly. It just dissolves. And so it doesn't become a problem,
Unless it's bamboo.
unless it's bamboo, and don't use bamboo. Anything else you flush doesn't dissolve. It takes a long time to become biodegradable. I'm told a hot dog is biodegradable, but it could be in the landfill for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
But it is biodegradable. So it's just the word we use, and if I was a marketer, why wouldn't I? I'm selling a product. It's flushable, of course, you know, this, golf balls are flushable.
It's to the age of the
So,
hot dogs. Check down with the New Jersey landfill.
Absolutely. So-
Any other comments on the superintendent's report before we move on? Okay. I wanted to address or hear your comments as to what the selectmen did with response to making the recommendations on the articles, the 5 articles that we presented for the special town meeting. In Article 1, it was 4 to 1 to 0 to approve.
No,
Now,
no, support.
support. Article 2, 3, and 4 are mostly just pass over, we're gonna pass over because we don't need
They
them.
recommend they go on a consent agenda and be denied.
Yes.
Yes.
And the 5th one, to approve 4, 1, and 0
Support.
to support.
Do we have any votes from FinCom yet on these?
No, in fact, Norma notified me that she released her report today.
Okay. So we don't have support from the selectmen to either the 36 million or the 3 million to fix the pipes at Swiss. They don't support them.
I find that unbelievable, they would do that. For two, and we were discussing before we convened, that we are specifically charged by our charter to make the responsible decisions as to what, how, and when to work on the system and expend monies to do so. And I am very offended that they stepped in and, because the request is to approve, let's say, the 36 million. It really doesn't ask anything else but to approve. They are suggesting or implying that they don't feel we are spending the money appropriately to fix the problem, or that the problem is not the correct one we should be addressing. For a group of 5 who have never been down to the facility, they seem to pretend to know a great deal about it, and I'm offended they are second-guessing what we have decided amongst ourselves with extensive studies by our consultants, reviews, discussions, et cetera, that we've reached certain conclusions that these are necessary and in the order as far as the priority is concerned. That's my opinion. I'd love to hear everyone else's opinion on that.
You don't want mine.
No, you don't want mine either.
Well, can you clean it up?
Not if I talk about the selectmen. The selectmen got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and they had to give up their slush fund. What they did when they made the sewer commission an elected position is they made damn sure we had no power.
Okay, I understand your point of view, and yes, I understand it.
We
I would
can
appreciate
raise
if
the
you would keep
rates
it on a
and take
different
the
level, if you
blame,
don't
and
mind.
that's it. And that's the way they want it.
No, okay. Thank you, Peter. I understand your point of view, and it's your opinion, and that's what we're doing here. Bob, you want to comment on it?
I'm gonna hold off on that.
Because I've been invited to go before the capital planning, which I'm going to do, and I think that's, and after that is the floor of town meeting. So I think what we really need is some very rational comments and arguments on behalf of ourselves and what we volunteer to do.
Don't we have FinCom coming up?
I've already been to a thing.
No, again, aren't you on the agenda coming up?
No, capital planning.
I know that, but I thought I had, never mind, I thought I had seen a FinCom agenda.
Oh, I saw Norma yesterday, she never,
Oh, okay, so,
Bob.
See, this comes back to, are we responsible to the 9,000 EDUs or the roughly 6,000 people, or are we responsible to the town? Yes, we are elected by the entire town, but who do we actually represent?
Users. From my point of view, we represent the users.
Okay, then we can't go along with some of the things that the town says, because
We're an, we are.
the problem is that the users only amount to 1/3 of the population of the town. Yet, let's face it, the entire town benefits from the sewer plant.
Excuse me, Peter, I won't go into that, I won't allow that argument to come on the floor.
But it's just.
I know your point of view, but it's an issue that is,
Well, it's
been up.
where do we owe our allegiance is my point.
We have a responsibility, a sworn responsibility, to maintain this system on behalf of all the users.
I think.
And that's what we did in determining what our needs are. I mean, it's automatic that everything mechanical has an approximate life expectancy about 25 years. Well, they are at 20 years plus. And Guy will tell you, his crew has to go in and do the repairs to keep those systems running. We have all that information and we say, okay, yes, it's time to do so. As a matter of fact, we disagree. I'm hoping something is left to salvage after we're done so we can have something as a backup, hopefully. But the way things start now, I believe our responsibility, and what I've been trying to do and get paperwork, is to establish a series of things that we need to replace, hopefully not impacting the financial side of it to such an extent that we cripple ourselves financially, or the users. Because everything over there at the plant, I think Guy will agree with me, needs to be replaced.
I have a question.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Mr. Chairman. We have 3 blowers. We lost 3. We put 2 back online, then we lost another one. We bought a motor. Motors at $10,000 apiece, 150 horsepower. And now we're renting a blower at $17,000 a month to get through the summer. That's just one item. That's about $1.2 million to repair. That hasn't even come forward yet because everything else going on, and these are happening as we speak. It's just the way it is. And those blowers are 1999, been running since 2005 nonstop. It's just the way it is.
And the approach some of the selectmen intimidated is that these are not critical items because you just said, we've got a problem with the blowers. Why aren't we replacing the blowers? Well, my point of view, and as you interpreting what you say, yes, they're very important. They're critical. There is everything over there that's critical.
Absolutely.
And to say we have to make a decision. With the clarifiers, hopefully, if I recall, they have advised us we're putting in a larger unit than we have. So that gives us a little more capacity on that level. At the headworks, we need that. It sits there and keeps running since we turned it on.
It's more than capacity at the clarifiers, Mr. Chairman. They're constantly spilling over. They're too shallow. They cannot, in 2012, there's a report done by Wood and Curran presented to the town that said that they're inadequate, they're too small, and they don't do the job. In 2012, we ignored that. Now we're saying we don't need them again. We have a habit of saying we don't need it. We just don't need it. And that report was done by Woodward and Curran, followed up on, and that was hired by the town administrator, and that was following up CDM's suggestion. So, it's antiquated. Again, they need to be replaced. As simple as that. Again, as priorities, tomorrow something may happen. Heck, I'm worried about Narrows Pump Station. If that station goes down, we talk about $8 million replacement for that. And we haven't even bought that for. We're keeping that going. The building's falling apart, the roof's leaking like crazy, the The wet well's rotten, the stairs, I mean, it's crazy. And I haven't even brought that forward. And as we tour these facilities, and I would recommend to the selectmen, put their boots on and their jeans, and we'll show them. And then they can say, okay, is there a problem, is there not a problem? But it's real, and so how do you prioritize, so many problems? And you say, okay, this is simple. Well, the clarifiers, we can't treat, and that means we violate the river. But out the headworks, we can't treat, so the primary treatment's going. So what's more important? I don't know, your heart, your lungs? I don't know, your arms, your legs? Yeah, I guess you gotta pick one. And that's the tough part, and every day it gets worse. So I don't envy anybody, especially to your point, if you're not there and understand it, then it's tough for me to make a decision. It's like,
Andy, do you want to chime in, please?
I have a couple comments about the selectmen's meeting. Yes, I am married to one. Yes, we were in two different buildings during that meeting, so now, I was surprised to hear you hint that the clarifiers might be leaking. If we cleaned them out, we could find, I was surprised at that statement. That yeah, you said that we're gonna be cleaning out the clarifier for the first time when we get a new one. We may have been leaking, quote unquote. That was quite a surprise for me. No matter what we do, we cannot put any more product out into the river. And that was sort of hinted out that we could put out the full amount. But Article 5, if I understand this correctly, Article 5, we got the money for this article prior town meeting, correct?
Yes.
So why does Article 5 today talk about borrowing when we already have the money allocated? All we are doing is changing the purpose of Article 5. The money was funded in a prior town meeting. Why are we asking to borrow it again in this article?
I don't know.
So that's a good question, I think.
Yeah, because we, obviously, if
I mean,
previous article it was approved and is a borrowing article, we're borrowing twice.
yeah, so this Article 5 was new to us at the last week's meeting, so I didn't have a chance to fully vet it. Now, Article 1, the 36 million, I guess they decided not to do a, what's the bond, borrowing bond or bond something like we did for the
Ban.
school?
A ban?
No, we voted on something to do the school, and everybody's putting it a borrowing.
debt exclusion maybe?
Debt
something like that?
exclusion, that's the word.
Okay.
Why isn't this a debt exclusion for the 36 million?
I think you can do it for operations.
No, you can't.
Okay, all right. Now, at our previous selectmen's, sewer meeting, we were talking about the impact of borrowing this 36 million, and it was stated that because of our flow of interest and principal, by the time this becomes on board, there would be no impact to anybody's EDU. But at the selectmen's meeting, I heard differently.
I believe the phraseology was minimal impact. And in the interim, I did some calculations, because, and Derek was sitting right next to me when I did the presentation to the Finance Committee, that the impact would be minimal at about, well, he did the calculations
Yeah,
more
it says
closely.
80
But about, but
$100 a year.
yeah,
No,
the
no.
impact as a result of the paying down of other borrowings, that when this hit
It's,
the borrowing,
This
it
is
would be
the
a minimal
spreadsheet that
impact
Derek
on
sent.
the user. And John Foster and Derek Sullivan sat down and did a more closely calculation, and their estimate was at approximately $100 per annum per user.
Well, and for the now.
when they're done, I have a question.
Well,
Are you done? So I can...
Yeah, go ahead.
The note said that we expect the cost per EDU per year to be $84.54. Do you think how long that will last?
that's,
Indefinite.
It will
that's,
just continue, it will always stay.
Yes.
Now, some were, In the past, we've talked about increasing EDU on a regular basis. That's above and beyond this.
Yes.
So this,
No, that's strictly for the
Was it-
narrows and swifts.
It's a discussion that,
I'm sorry, I
I'm sorry,
couldn't.
go ahead, go ahead.
The 8454. That's the cost per EDU for the Narrows and the Swift Beach project only.
No, this is for the 36 million.
The 36 million
Look at the project.
is $46.28. This is the spreadsheet that Derek just sent out.
So what you're saying, we're really looking at 46 plus 84 as an increase in
$130.82.
The plant upgrade cost is 4628. The Narrows and Swifts, which is 9 million, is 84. So
$84.54.
we're talking a little bit more than a minimal. We thought there would be not much of an impact, but by the time we add these two together, which
It's
is
$130.
$130 per year per EDU,
The,
just to cover the
Now-
capital
no,
expenses.
And this is the spreadsheet that I was
Yeah.
going to ask you questions on. This is based on the 9% principal reduction. Is that a guarantee?
no,
The 9.9% Tier 3 is a guarantee to us.
It is a
Anytime we-
guarantee?
Yes.
Oh, yes,
SRF
yes.
funding, it's
All right, so-
guaranteed.
yes.
There's others we don't know.
So
You're
that the
right.
balance is 32,760, 32 million.
yes,
All right, and then you take that over the 20 years and 18% goes to Bourne, and you figure it against the estimated debt and the new debt, and it comes down to $443,365.05 for fiscal '26. And that plant upgrade per EDU after the debt reduction is $46.28.
I can't answer any questions for you on that. I hadn't had an opportunity to review it with him.
You didn't get this?
I did get that at 4 hours prior to my meeting before the Finance Committee, and I've had
Well,
something else.
I can't print it as a spreadsheet, that's why I put it together like so. But that means the EDU is going up $130.
For the project, approximate to that. He said it's $100 when you're specific to one. Collectively, it's, as the calculations, I think, that you have there are correct.
These aren't mine, this is what I think Derek's office sent it out.
Yes, this is nothing to do with me. He and John Foster worked this out.
I don't understand why the 9 million costs so much more per EDU than the 36 million.
And that's a good question. It's a very good question, Peter Beat. As I said, though, I haven't had the opportunity to sit down with him and ask him that question. I'm a little confused about it also.
Could be the interest,
Could be one or the other, yeah.
could be the interest, because that was, I wasn't,
It could be accumulation of other issues
Guessing, I
also.
don't
If you're trying to, we've got a lot of things going on that haven't hit the skids yet. We've got permission to borrow money, but the project itself hasn't even started yet. I think I can't name them off, but at least 2 are out there. So it's trying to put the entire package together so that I can give you an answer of what's going to happen with one issue, but if I put all the issues together, you get a very different answer, and that's the area of concern. But I have to be upfront and tell you that you had to put all the packages together. And those, from my point of view, anything that hasn't started but's been approved should still be in the calculation. It's going to hit eventually.
So, back to your original discussion of your your feelings about the selectmen. If they are not going to back at town meeting this borrowing of $36 million, that means the plant's going down the tubes.
Yeah, it's irresponsible what they're doing. For one, it's
Okay.
irresponsible.
Now-
For two, it's none of their business.
Okay, so what happens when the plant totally fails?
That's my question.
Town takes it over,
Who?
the town.
Town
No,
takes
wait
it
a
over.
minute. Does the town or does the state?
No,
No.
town takes it over. Because the town is responsible for its entirety.
Aren't they trying to privatize it?
Now, right now, they can't. There's too many other issues you have to go over before you even get into a discussion of privatization.
Why not? Okay, maybe,
If it fails, it's not passing EPA and DEP
Not at all.
guidelines. I
Why
would
wouldn't
think
the state come in?
would step in and
Yeah.
take it over. That's why I don't see the town taking it over. I see the town getting the bill,
Oh, indeed, we get a number of very large bills.
and now it's
It's
spread
penalties
over
to
the
do so.
entire town as
But,
opposed to the
Yeah, but
6,000 users.
You're getting the conversation projecting way far out there ahead.
Oh, I don't think so.
What we have to address right now is how we're gonna fix this situation. I mean, we can talk forever on your other issues, and all we're doing is wasting an awful lot of time. We have to fix this issue.
Which is this issue?
The $36 million to go forward with is what we feel is appropriate to correct the issues over there at the plant and maintain that plant in operational conditions.
And apparently Swiss Beach,
Yes, because
which had been okay before, but now it's a
Indeed.
problem.
yeah. I was appalled what their questions were, knowing that the plant's been sitting there since 1970, and these questions, these issues are certainly coming up suddenly, and knowing from whom they are from, they've never walked the plant. They have no clue about what is actually functioning over there, what the condition of it is in, and yet they're trying to second guess whose only job is to find out what's going on over there.
A while ago, guys said the report in 2012 said the clarifiers were out of date.
Yes,
Who were the sewer commissioners at that point?
I know, yep.
Okay, so you're upset with the selectmen. I look at it as they're shooting themselves in the foot, because if they don't support this $36 million, the town gets to pay for the whole thing, and we're off the hook. All the 6,000 users of the system.
so we really need a
Imagine
plan.
Warren isn't gonna be too happy about it either.
We need a plan to address the body at town meeting, to come up for our reasons to support this 36 million, because the selectmen will have, and FinCom both will have a chance to speak why they voted not in favor of. We've got to have a very strong response to all their objections.
It hinges totally, as Sandy has said, and I'll repeat it, it's our credibility. We are the final decision makers as to what happens and how we spend the enterprise fund's monies in support of this operation.
No, the
And
Town meeting
irrespective
voter-
of how
town-
vague or how some of the issues were written, well, you step up and take the vagueness out. This is what we want to happen. This is what we feel should happen. This is what we feel is reasonable and necessary.
and strongly recommended by a well-known and respected engineering.
As a matter of fact, we've had 2 or 3, because it was implied that we had too much from the single one.
Single one, yes,
Yes.
yes, that was implied,
And we've had at least 3.
that have come to the same conclusion that these two components must be replaced.
And if we took every item that's in that plant and graded it on necessity, I would suggest that almost everything would come up with a 10.
Well, at least with the blowers, there's an alternative. We don't have an alternative to the headworks or the clarifiers. There is nothing that can be brought in or rented.
And in reference to the leak and the like, in my mind, I remember now what happened. Sarah was telling me about the situation because the tanks were too small, and Guy has always pointed out the foam that's on top, et cetera, and we find the units themselves don't reach the bottom, they were short, the tanks are small, et cetera, and to point out that the tanks have never
They've
been emptied.
and,
So we don't know if they're leaking.
and that's, I heard that, and I said, what?
The clarifiers have been lined, Danny Warren lined both clarifiers. The third clarifier is new in
Yes.
2005, so I would suggest to you, and we take it down every other year, I would suggest to you that they're not leaking, I would suggest, but they are in the water table. I mean, there definitely is a lot of pressure on them, but I would suggest they're not leaking. My concern is the aeration basin. Danny Warren did one basin and it was leaking, groundwater, and he fixed it. We never take the other two down yet, at least one. So that would be my concern. If you had a concern with water, with the groundwater coming into the system, I would suggest I would suggest that that's aeration basin number 2.
So where do I send flowers? It's hard to be as cynical, but it's mostly based out of frustration. I mean, we're trying to do the right thing here. We're trying to do the responsible thing on behalf of our users, and to bust your butt and have it treated the way they treated us at that night, I think was appalling. But anyway,
1972 concrete. It's 1972.
So,
anything else? Any other comments?
do we have another meeting before special?
I would
before
like
town-
to, yeah, I think we do, yeah.
We
No.
do?
Our next meeting is the 27th.
Are we gonna have a workshop?
That's what I was going to ask now. I'd like to do an afternoon workshop. I would like to have Board of Health come in to give us an update and understand what they're dealing with in terms of pumping. Just an idea, because I know there's certain sections of towns that really should go on the list, so to speak. We've had some questions about how we control or how we affect the issuance of permits at 40, we talked about 40B earlier this evening, which we have apparently no control over, but understand how we perhaps possibly can put something in the bylaws to give us the ability to say yes or no, or be more aware of that's happening. And those are just informational things. And then for us to start on going through and answering our questions more in depth and having people come in to answer them for us versus sitting around and say we read somewhere or someone told us. Is there something else you would like us to have in a workshop that could answer some questions for you, give you a better idea of what's going on?
When,
Going wrong?
you have a time frame in mind?
What would be anything we could not plan? I would say in 3 weeks hence.
You want to have this before town meeting? Is that your idea?
No.
Oh.
I don't think it's a function for town meeting. I think it's more of a function for us to know better what is going on.
Yeah, 3 weeks out, I'm good.
3 weeks out?
Can we do it on a Friday
Sure,
at the plant?
sure.
Do it on a Friday, you're not gonna get the Board of Health there.
We're closed on Fridays.
You're closed on Fridays. Nice try. Only town hall is.
We can meet in the parking lot.
Everyone's a smart.
We'll meet at the clarifier tanks.
So, someone have a time frame? 3 weeks out?
Let's see, today's the 13th, 1, 2, 27, that would be the beginning of August.
August 4th? It's a
On
Friday.
August 4th?
Doesn't bother me, I don't care whichever you do.
That's a Friday.
Sandy wanted a
And
Friday.
what is good on a Friday, if
Will you get,
we have access to the plant, we can get into the conference room, and
We can do
there's an
that.
office down the end that some guys I know all the time, and he won't be there apparently, that we don't, he doesn't work on Fridays.
Yeah, but
It's got a tea time. Leave them alone.
I don't work on Fridays.
Will you get,
Priorities.
will you get anybody from the Board of Health on a Friday?
I'll ask, of course. I think we will, as a courtesy.
On a Friday, they're closed.
The offices, I can't see Patrick not working 24/7 if
Oh,
needed.
okay, I'm
Yeah, I
just a
just-
question.
It is a question.
And by the way, Sandy, Josh hasn't called me back on an issue because you were concerned about
That's in stone. They're gonna do the floor.
the swift speech.
Conservation has not approved the Swiss Speech project, and I don't know when is it starting?
I have, I
supposed
think
to-
I was supposed to talk
Huh?
with Danny.
Bob?
We're supposed to start the 12th,
Yeah,
2 days ago.
Yeah,
Oh, yesterday, actually, so.
Maybe the 12th of
because
November.
Danny's been trying to get a hold of me for 2 days now, and I've been off with family stuff.
so as far as I know, no one's come before conservation. There's no plans for dewatering, there's no plans for where to put the dirty soil. Nothing like that has been discussed, and I am concerned about the additional pollution that will happen once the site is open without those controls in place. But I'm only conservation. But the minute I heard bacteria, that's all I could think of, and then it happened to every beach. So when people are out there walking your dogs, remember that is going to end up into the water once there's a lot of rain, so.
I can't believe how many were on Wareham Matters complaining that they couldn't walk their dog on the beach.
Well, you rather walk your dog or have an open beach?
Well, it's,
Yeah, your beach is closed because of bacteria. That
yeah, and of
comes-
course, the one who's complaining is probably the one that doesn't bring that plastic bag with him.
It is not a just plastic bag, there is urine, and that goes into the sand, and that goes out into the water. It isn't just picking up the brown stuff.
If you think of it, why you can't walk your dog? Well,
Here's a reason why, heavy rain will wash that all into the water.
or it's just a little movement of the foot will cover it up, and you just keep walking.
Obviously, she's never
What time on the
drank beer
4th,
at the
and
beach.
what time on the 4th?
I'd like to try one in the afternoon.
What time are we doing this thing?
I have no idea.
What are you grinning over there for, Mr. Campina?
Well, yeah, it's,
Who's that?
What time are we doing this?
1
1
PM.
it's lunchtime. We close at lunchtime.
Keep trying.
I'll keep trying. I'm not gonna give up.
It'll be a
Motion to
tough
adjourn.
crowd here.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded, there being no discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.